The Amazing Digital Circus is undeniably one of the most popular and well-regarded indie animated shows of all time. It's consistently gotten better after each release, and there's just one episode remaining before it's finished for good. I've been making videos about it ever since its pilot first came out, and as time has went on I've noticed a bunch of issues regarding its fandom. Although the Digital Circus fandom is generally pretty good, there's a number of concerning things that I feel the need to talk about. In this video I'll go through everything wrong with the Digital Circus fandom. I hope you enjoy. So starting things off, every fandom has its toxic parts. It's nearly impossible to avoid. However, in particular, I think the Digital Circus fandom is quite toxic in regard to how they treat the voice actors who work on the show. The first has to do with episode 7. This episode was pretty monumental. It expanded on the show's lore in a big way and totally flipped fans' expectations. However, once the episode came out, a bunch of things went down. Firstly, in the episode we got some real-life depictions for the first time. In a couple frames we see Jax driving down a road. Fans immediately took things a step too far by going out of their way to locate this area, finding out the exact road and coordinates. One Redditor had the bright idea of visiting this road and knocking on the doors of various houses, asking if they knew about the Digital Circus or Jax. Things got so bad that the show's creator Gooseworks had to come out about it on Blue Sky. Goose said that the area isn't lore or plot relevant. They wanted to depict Jax driving, and the most cost-effective way was to physically have glitch team members record it. They did their best to censor out elements and signs, but clearly that wasn't enough. Obviously, this is all extremely sad to see. You can definitely put forward the argument that Glitch could have been more careful with the scenes they put into the episode. However, like Goose says, they took measures to try and avoid this. I don't think anyone was expecting fans to show up at a real-life area. Next, during the episode we learn more about Kane and how he treats the circus members. We find out that he can alter minds, which provides context for a bunch of previous episodes. Fans had a very normal reaction, which was to freak out about Kane and discuss how he's the worst character in the show. They talked about how he was a monster and ruined everything. Things spiraled to the point where Kane's voice actor Alex Rockon had to come out to clarify things about Kane in a thread. He talked about his experience voicing the character and why he likes Kane. Episode 8 contained some huge plot points relating to Kane and his role in the show. You know what I mean, he had his moment. After the release, once again fans were upset about Kane, saying he was a stupid villain or that his character was ruined. Alex made a few posts about this on Blue Sky, saying it was disheartening to read some of the comments. Kane is a misunderstood character who ultimately loves humans, but struggles to understand what his role is. Fans instead saw this in a black and white way. He was a good guy and now he's the villain and that's all it is. It's absolutely a shame that such an awesome character was watered down into such a basic and boring way. All the nuance is removed by the fans. Lastly, one thing that's pretty awesome about the voice actors is that they regularly stream together. They play video games or host charity events to raise money for good causes. They also stay in character, leading to some hilarious moments. Unfortunately, some members of the Digital Circus fandom are quite entitled. They don't realise that these events are actually quite rare in other fandoms. A few months ago, some of the voice actors were playing Repo, which is a co-op horror game. Throughout the stream, the chat was bombarded with angry fans asking why Michael Kovac wasn't present. Things got so bad that Melissa, Gangle's VA, had to make a pinned comment about it. Later, Michael did a thread responding, addressing the parasocial problems in the fandom. Several weeks before this, Michael said he was taking a break from appearing in fan songs because fans were getting annoyed when him and other voice actors didn't appear in fan songs. All of this combined is just exhausting. It's hard to imagine how stressful it is for the voice actors working on the show to be bombarded like this. As I said earlier, the fandom isn't all like this, but it's this vocal minority that's ruining it for everyone. It's probably their first time being in an online fandom, so they don't know proper etiquette or boundaries that shouldn't be crossed. However, as Michael accidentally put it, fans need to behave. There's also plenty of smaller individual issues you can include here, like fans misinterpreting things that happen in the show and getting angry that their headcanons didn't come to fruition. Gooseworks vented about this recently on Blue Sky, showing that it's something even the show's creator has witnessed many times.
Shimmy shimmy yeah, drink, swallow la la.
This could technically be bundled under the previous point, but I think it's worth its own dedicated section. Throughout the runtime of the Digital Circus, it's been a mainstay at many conventions across the globe. The voice actors will fly out and get their own tables where you can stop by to say hi or get a signature. They also hold fun panels where they can talk about their experience working on the show, things they like about the characters, and also hold a Q&A segment where fans can ask them questions. As time has went on, that latter part is where the problems started to emerge. Fans would ask bizarre and insane questions to the voice actors. You've probably seen the clip before, I won't play it, but basically at one convention a fan said to Michael to take it as a joke, but they asked if he would marry them. Michael did a bit and walked off stage before walking back on. Although this was played off as a joke, to a lot of people including myself it came across as very odd and parasocial. It's incredibly tone deaf and disconcerting. Michael and the others are there to have a good time, and things like these just kill the vibe and make it uncomfortable for everyone. Similarly, at literally every panel, the voice actors would get bombarded with questions relating to spoilers. There's plenty of these floating around online, one notable clip being when a fan asked Michael about Ribbit and Alex had to remind the audience about spoilers. The cast are likely under NDA, they can't leak or discuss things that could spoil the show. It's really irresponsible to ask the voice actors things that could put their livelihoods at jeopardy. Luckily, at a recent convention, they announced that there will be stricter rules, especially around dodgy questions and spoilers. This is good news, though as I said, this rule was immediately broken by that fan. The show is coming to an end, in a few months it'll be over, but I think at this point it's a shame, because anytime I see a clip from one of the con panels, I know it's going to be the most cringe-inducing thing ever. It sucks, it shouldn't be like that. Obviously, a lot of fans are kids, it's probably their first time in a fandom or at a convention, but I feel like it should be common sense not to do things that make the voice actors uncomfortable. AI is a problem that's prevalent in every fandom, but I think with the digital circus especially, it's progressively gotten worse. Back in the earlier days of the fandom, there were a variety of content farm channels. These ranged from videos making comic dubs and other dodgy content clearly aimed towards young children. Channels like Circus Theory and Circus Master were the biggest, just genuinely making terrible content. Most of these channels actually quit, surprisingly enough, but they've been replaced by AI ones instead. There's many of these accounts, you've definitely seen them before, but the main one that comes to mind is Amadici. All of his videos are narrated by a text-to-speech voice. The scripts are clearly AI written, and the videos themselves are packed with nonsense. They'll repeat and reuse stuff from old videos in new ones as well, so that the videos are just over 8 minutes to get mid-roll ads. If you're familiar with how AI write, you'll recognise the telltale signs. Phrases like "it's not this, it's that," etc. The usage of AI is already bad enough, but they also constantly use fan art without crediting the artists. They'll use them in a way that presents it as if it's canon or a new sneak peek for a new episode, when it clearly isn't. If you go on sites like Reddit, there's plenty of posts from artists complaining that their work is being misrepresented on YouTube. After some call-out posts from these artists, Amadici made a community post apologising, saying the artists are credited. The apology is obviously a smokescreen, but it ignores the main point. Artists don't want their stuff to be used by AI channels and presented as if it's canon. It doesn't really matter if they're credited, they shouldn't be using it full stop. They aren't even credited properly in the description. Their username is included, but no link is provided to the original source, making it harder for fans to figure out who made what. They also just went straight back to using these fan-made creations, rendering the apology useless. This was a really big problem in between episode releases. There were months where there was no updates, so fans would create fun fan animations of the characters, especially with the character Ribbit. Channels like Amadici would take these clips from the fan animations and use them in thumbnails for videos, portraying them as leaks, clickbaiting people and spreading a bunch of misinformation. Around 6 months ago, they received criticism for the obviously AI generated scripts and voice. They used their real voice for 2 videos and then went back to the AI one. In a community post, they said they were perfectionists and weren't happy with the way their voice sounded. Again, this just isn't a good excuse. Most of the enjoyment from YouTube is putting yourself out there and improving your content. It took me plenty of videos before I got comfortable with a style I liked. I can empathise with not liking your voice, I was the same way for many years. However, it's clear they don't really care about the fandom or the shows themselves, it's just a cash cow. No one who respects the show would use AI and do everything else that I explained. The people watching these videos are likely young children. For me personally, as soon as I hear an AI voice, I click off immediately because I know it's going to be slop. But it's really frustrating because the reason these channels blow up is because they can produce content on an inhuman rate. Nobody can create daily 10-minute long-form videos unless you use AI. An AI voice doesn't get tired or need to take breaks, humans can't compete. There's plenty of other examples of AI in the fandom, but one funny one is these AI-generated digital circus books on sites like Amazon. They just look genuinely awful. These channels also regularly steal content from creators like me and Tactic Owl. If you see me or him make a video on something, the AI channels will make a duplicate copy a few days later. One funny example was a TikTok account that would repost my stuff, but I couldn't view their profile because they blocked me so I wouldn't see. That's genuinely quite smart, I have to give them props for that. Like I said earlier, AI is a problem that continues to get worse as time goes on, but I think it's important to at least remind people that it's bad because these things shouldn't be normalised at all.
To me, you're all toys, playthings I must annoy.
Like with any online fandom, the digital circus community has a bunch of fan AUs. These are alternate universe versions of the characters and world, with fan voice actors portraying the characters. A couple notable ones being the Amazing Digital Wonderland, the Digital Fight Club, and the Jack Show. The latter two examples were extremely controversial, to the point where it led to a bunch of drama and plenty of fans stepping away from the AU scene entirely. Starting off with the Digital Fight Club. This AU was pretty self-explanatory, and it's probably the most popular AU in the fandom. It's the digital circus, but all of the characters are themed around fighting, featuring unique outfits and personalities. It had a successful Kickstarter campaign and got a bunch of support, but things quickly went downhill. It's a complicated topic, but basically old dramas relating to one of the voice actors called Kitten Sneeze was unearthed. I recommend doing your own research when it comes to the Kitten Sneeze situation. It's too much to get into in depth here, but fans wanted Kitten Sneeze to get recast as their role as Pomni. On March 1st, a post was made saying an announcement would eventually be made on the topic. A few weeks later, on the 16th, one was made. The apology is a little vague, but one part they mention is a recast. This was also brought up in an apparent message from the Discord server for the project. It seemed that Pomni was being recast. This entire thing is a bit of a mess, as you can tell. I think most people are waiting for another update to hopefully get clarification on what's going on behind the scenes, but the lack of clarity is a little frustrating. This controversy rolled over and affected the next AU called the Jack Show. The Jack Show is, or perhaps was, a fan AU where Jax was a talk show host and interviews the other characters. It was announced in February, and like with the Fight Club, was really well received. Fans were excited. However, in March they announced the cast list and things spiraled. A few of the voice actors involved were friends with Kitten Sneeze. Similarly, past controversial statements were also brought up. This gained traction on Twitter and made its way into the Discord server for the project. Eventually it all fell apart. People involved in the project came out in Twitter spaces and detailed their experiences working on it. After looking through these, there's a history with Digital Circus AU projects either being poorly ran or just having bad leadership. It's a real shame, because once the Digital Circus ends, these fan projects will be one of the ways that fans keep the spirit of the show alive. However, the show isn't even over yet, and these projects are already falling apart. So that's everything wrong with the Digital Circus fandom. There's absolutely more things I could have talked about here, but I think I covered the main things and I don't want the video to drag on. I will also say that generally the Digital Circus fandom has been very good to take part in. The show is fantastic and most fans are lovely. But like I said, as time has went on, these problems have permeated through to the point where it can't not be brought up. I think the Digital Circus is lucky in that it's ending quite soon. There's one episode left. The longer a show goes on, the more chance there is that things will happen that tarnish its reputation. So, although it would be nice to have more episodes, I'm happy that Goose is ending it in the way that she wants, and it's ending on a high note, rather than dragging on until it loses its charm and fans get sick of it. So that's everything I wanted to talk about. Do you have any experiences in the Digital Circus fandom? Is there anything I missed? Let me know down below. As always, thanks for watching.